Hi, can everybody hear me? Okay. Hi, I'm Lillian Hogendoorn. I am presenting with Susan Bond, who's not here, on When to Become One, Harmonizing Library Technologies for Seamless User Experience. Susan said to say, we are so one that she did not need to be here today. And she also came up with the title. Okay, so who are we? Susan is our Discovery Systems Librarian at the University of Toronto Libraries. She is responsible for the functionality of Primo, which is our primary discovery layer. I'm going to take this off. I'm leaning over. Okay. And other discovery-related projects. Susan brings a really wonderful customer service users first kind of energy to her role, because before she was a librarian, she was a circulation desk supervisor, and she's very aware of how users feel sad and angry when they have bad experiences at the library. I am the web project manager and content strategy librarian. Doesn't mean anything. But at least it doesn't have digital in the title. And I work strategic management of our library's web spaces to help users connect with our services, resources, people, and libraries. And I bring kind of a chaotic, move fast and break things attitude to our partnership, because I used to work in precariously underfunded nonprofits. So we're going to talk about U of T in context, because we need to talk about the context. We'll talk a little bit about the website, our approach, wins, losses, and what's next. Okay. So U of T Libraries is really big, and I know we'd like to talk about that. We have 40-ish libraries. We frequently cannot get two librarians to give the same count on this number. We also have 3 campuses, a hospital consortium, and some other affiliated libraries. And we have a big variation in size of those libraries. So some people have 1 staff member, some have over 100 staff in the library. And then some of those libraries are centrally managed, some are federated, some are fully independent. They all kind of use central services, but they don't all have the same sort of entitlements or like governance over that. So given that we're very big, here's an imperfect org chart that I made to demonstrate how Susan and I are distant cousins. Susan is part of our collections unit under our associate chief librarian for collections and materials management. And we kind of meet up at the chief librarian. I report to our associate chief librarian of data services, digital scholarship, and information technology within the information technology services unit, which has no head. And I think that makes us second cousins once removed. So we're also an academic library, so to subvert those silos, we really like to rely on committees. In this case, the LSP Resource Discovery Team, which has people that are interested in metadata and discovery, and the Web Advisory Committee are supposed to support each Susan and I. There's very little overlap in both the mandate of those committees and the membership or the interest of those people. And finally, our technology is also 2 different things. So from a technical perspective, the discovery system and the website, our web experience, I'll say, are sourced, developed, and managed totally differently. So library search is what we call Primo. We transitioned to it from sort of a locally managed solution in 2021. It's vendor hosted and managed. We do some light customization, and tickets come in through LSP Jira queue. For the web, we have 20 Drupal 10 websites. They have not had any substantial theme changes since 2015. There's 1 main site, which is what people think of. There's also 19 other sites that look the same, but aren't. And they're all for individual library locations. They are all locally developed, hosted, and managed. And tickets come in through a totally separate Jira queue called the Web Management and Development queue. So that's our understanding. For users, it's a little bit different. So here are some highly paraphrased bits of feedback that we have received through various channels about the library web experience. So since the rehaul of the library website a few years ago, it hasn't been rehauled in 10 years. Just a reminder. The search bar has been terrible. UT library website links do not always lead to the correct book. And recently, I was doing a focus group, and it was on something different. And we had the website open, and we scrolled down, and somebody said, "I didn't know it could do that." And then everyone else said, "Me neither." And so I think that's pretty representative. So, TLDR, the user thinks it's all the library website, and we say those are two very different things. So Susan and I are also both the inaugural holders of our position. It took us some time to come to exactly this conclusion that we have jobs and what they are, but also, sorry, it's the end of the day, but also that our jobs really need to and must intersect even if organizationally they don't. So I started in September 2021. The first question I asked was, what about the discovery interface? And my manager at the time said, I'd never thought of that. And then Susan transitioned into her current role in May 2022. By July of 2022, we realized that we were talking a lot on Teams and maybe we should meet regularly. And in September 22, we found our first really, really big problem. And we realized there were some major gaps in the warm handoff between the two services. Okay, so here's how it works. Whether I'm an advocate for lots of meetings, I'm not a big meetings person, but Susan and I hold an hour every week to catch up, whether we have an agenda item or not. We also spend some of that time exchanging office gossip. That's something that is frustrating us, someone that is frustrating us. Usually that comes to some kind of problem that we can solve. Sometimes we have to knock on other people's doors who also kind of represent website. So I think in the last presentation, we talked about vendor managed platforms. We often have to talk to our electronic resources librarian because people think that that is website. And then our live chat coordinator is someone we also talk to a lot. More importantly than anything, we hold space for experimentation. So whether that be drawing on a napkin or making changes in the sandbox or our staging environment with that closed door in an informal environment, there are no bad ideas. There are still some bad ideas, but we try them and we don't see the light of day. So through this workflow, we have been able to make little tweaks and big changes on both the website and library search without sort of going through the whole rigmarole and red tape. One of us always has a problem. The other is likely to have some kind of solution or at the very least a fresh perspective. So in the interest of time, I'm going to highlight two of these four little tweaks that we've made. So something we were able to solve in a day or an hour was a change to the broken link language. So Susan explained the problem to me, what was happening in Peru. Users were clicking on a broken link. They were directed to log in or to be on campus, which is not always or even often the solution. So I thought about our brand identity, simplified the language, made sure it reflected the user experience, and then together we confirmed that that language accurately reflects both what's happening in the system and what the user is experiencing. So before it said the record cannot be displayed, and after it said, oops, item you're looking for is no longer here. Try searching. And it's not always on library search. For example, in searching for something else on our website, we found that the language on the single drop-down search, which prompted users to select catalog or website, was very confusing and also dated. It referenced the new library search, which was, I think, 2 years old when we found this. So after brainstorming some ideas, we changed the language from search this term in catalog and articles in the library search to search Hamlet in this term. Susan always uses Hamlet. That's why it's on these screenshots. In books, articles, journals, media, and more. So sometimes we hit a bigger problem. It requires some back and forth, additional stakeholders, additional experimentation. Over the past 18 months, we have tackled a handful of these mini projects. I put 4 up here. I'm only going to talk about 2, but if there's time in the Q&A, we can talk about the great analytics mystery of 2024, or we can talk about it at the reception. Whether the request comes in from my queue or Susan's queue, we have the opportunity always to come together and to get the required information and make the solution work. So, for example, look, it's a GIF or a GIF. I don't know what everyone's on. For example, I received a ticket asking for a web form to support retrieval of non-circulating government documents from storage during a space renovation. I tinkered with our existing web form solution for a while. I could not figure out how to do the pass-through of information without asking a user to do a lot of copy and paste. In my own understandings of the system I was working with, I thought we could capture the referring URL for whatever item the user came from. I think that would be sufficient. Because of my weekly touch point with Susan, we were able to talk about the form. She informed me that Primo actually had a built-in functionality to pass in form fields, which I did not know. It's called the General Electronic Service, and that there were certain metadata fields like the MMS ID that will be infallible in helping the recipient locate the item. And then a couple of months later, I was on leave and a similar request came in, but this time it came in to Susan because the staff member saw it as a LSP issue. And she was able to do it without even speaking with me. And then the floating chat tab, none of you have this. But we had a content manager for one of those 19 subsites request a floating chat tab. We realized that actually needed to be cohesive across the board, including on library search. We talked to the chat coordinator, and she confirmed that a lot of chats for people who were really struggling to use library search. Funny. And so in 2023, in the summer, we piloted a floating tab service. And now we also know where the chats are coming from, and we can use that data to solve those problems. So it's been a big win for us. Not everything is a big win. So we don't always have the knowledge, credibility, or access to make changes that we would like. Our agility does not always map to the risk tolerance of our colleagues. People in this room are familiar, I'm sure. For example, we've been hoping to make changes to the landing page for our search for over a year to help users understand what they can find, what they can't find. We initially wanted to just pull in a couple of liaisons for feedback. This got very complicated. We have been stuck between a rock and a hard place trying to find accurate enough representation of Primo, but that's useful, but not so accurate that it's confusing. If anyone has any ideas, also, I would love to hear them. And sometimes the systems just don't speak to each other the way we would like, so we often want to put up a site alert on both platforms to indicate maintenance or downtime of a major electronic resource or platform. We have one up now about the Internet Archive. But as of now, we haven't found like a quick way to make that change in both places. It's not just that the technology doesn't sort of naturally integrate. It's also we rely on skill sets of different developers with different knowledge bases, styles, and availability. So coordinating and syncing these alerts actually often takes longer than the outage itself, but we still would love to find a solution. Again, any ideas? So what's next? So unfortunately, we are staring down the road at a large-scale web consolidation and the redesign and a new release of the Primo user interface. Both of these updates require that the other platform reflects those changes. So we decided why not do them together all at once. It's going to be a mega re-release of the digital experience, summer 2025. The challenge is that it's a lot of work, but it's an opportunity to combine resources to do one user interruption, one review. And it also is an opportunity for us to address some of the pain points that we've come across that we can't address by ourselves. So we can ask for things that could not be achieved in like an agile sort of risk forward way. So that's like a status page, better e-resource problem reporting, better integration of the search and the website. And those are our plans. Thank you for letting us talk about how we like to gossip. If you have any questions, you can email Susan or you can talk to me now. I mean, you can email me as well, but that's it.